The brand new Marathon Stainless Steel Navigator is finally here, and in today's video, we're checking out this new watch and taking a look at the key differences and upgrades compared to the original version. If you're a fan of the Navigator like me, you're gonna love these new upgrades. Before we get into the video, here's a quick disclaimer. My friends at Marathon let me borrow the watch 2 weeks ahead of the launch, and at the time of filming this video, I've already sent it back. In the past, I've also done some client work for them, such as these wrist shots and flat lays. However, all thoughts shared in this video are my own, and they have not previewed this video before its release. With that out of the way, let's get into the video. For anyone who isn't familiar with the brand Marathon and the Navigator watch, Marathon is a watch brand based in Canada and has been manufacturing military watches since 1941. The Navigator is a pilot's watch designed and developed back in 1986. It has a very long history, and long-time fans have been patiently waiting for the release of the stainless steel version. Before we take a look at the upgrades, let's quickly go through the similarities on both versions of the Navigator. They both have the same dial design with 24-hour markings and tritium tubes on the hour markers and minute and hour hands. The new stainless steel Navigator retains the same asymmetrical case shape with a diameter of 41mm and a lug width of 20mm. However, its case thickness is 11mm compared to the 13 on the original Navigator. I'll talk more about this later in the video. Other similarities include a sapphire crystal and an easy access battery hatch on the case back. Also, both watches come with different ballistic nylon strap options. That's pretty much where the similarities end, and now let's finally talk about all of the changes and upgrades on the stainless steel Navigator. First off, starting with the biggest upgrade, the stainless steel case. When I first held the watch, it immediately felt much heavier and much more substantial compared to the fiber shell composite case on the original. The case has a parkerized finish and reminds me of a more textured sandblasted finish. I haven't had any experience with this finish before, but based on my research, it's commonly used on guns and knives. The crown also has a matching finish with the case, whereas the original had a black case with a grey crown. Speaking of the crown, the stainless steel Navigator has a screw-down crown with an improved 100 meters water resistance. When I engaged the screw-down crown, I noticed the parkerized finish can sometimes attract grease from my thumb and smudge the case. It's not a huge deal breaker, but something strange I experienced when handling the watch. Another upgrade is the bezel. It now has a bi-directional 12-hour GMT bezel. The action feels great and it's easy to engage. I noticed the bezel sits slightly high on the case compared to the original Navigator. However, the new stainless steel Navigator has a slimmer case thickness of 11mm, while the original has a thickness of 13mm. I'm not sure how they managed to make the watch slimmer while making the bezel sit higher on the case. If anyone knows how, let me know in the comments. Moving over to the dial, I noticed one subtle difference when comparing the two watches side by side. The text on the dial of the Steel Navigator appeared brighter. I'm not sure if it's because my Navigator is about a year old and the white text has slowly yellowed. The dial on the newer watch has more contrast and I found it slightly more legible. Inside the watch, it's running on an ETA F06.412 battery powered quartz movement that is accurate to plus or minus 10 seconds a year. I've also read that there is some fancy technology to prevent the movement from dust, humidity, and shock. Also, if the battery dies, you can easily swap the battery with the battery hatch on the case back. So far, the upgraded case material, movement, and screw-down crown with 100 meters water resistance are a huge improvement. These upgrades transforms the Navigator into an even more rugged tool watch. Next up, let's talk about wearability and a few not so obvious upgrades. On my 5.5-inch wrist, the Steel Navigator has a lot more wrist presence due to the increase in weight. Even though it feels more weighty, two design changes might have helped with wearability. The stainless steel Navigator has a slimmer profile with a thickness of 11mm, whereas the original has a thickness of 13mm. I think the 2mm difference made the watch much more wearable on my small wrist, especially when wearing any NATO or single pass-through straps, since these add extra height. Another design change to the case is the more tapered lugs. They were not very noticeable when wearing the watch with a NATO strap since it sits higher on my wrist. However, in my opinion, one of the biggest changes is the removable spring bars. Previously, there were fixed bars on the original Navigator, and now you can change to whatever strap you like. For example, I've swapped the stock strap for a grey button band elite silicone strap. The strap and tapered lugs hug my wrist and wear very well. I think the thinner case profile with tapered lugs greatly improves the wearability of this watch. One quick note on the lug width and straps. The lug width on the spec sheet says 20mm, however when I measured it, it was 19.5mm wide. This is the same measurement on the original Navigator. I'm not sure why that is, but I found that some 20mm straps were difficult to secure to the case. For example, the button band silicone strap was a very tight fit, and other straps were impossible to fit due to lack of clearance for the spring bars. I love swapping watch straps, and the 19.5mm lug width was a bit disappointing and limits my strap choices. Overall, that's all of the changes and upgrades I've noticed during my time with the watch. Lastly, let's talk about pricing and my final thoughts. At the time of filming this video, the original Navigator starts at around $450 and the Steel Navigator starts at $800. As a huge fan of the original Navigator, I love the new upgrades to the stainless steel version, and now it's an even more rugged tool watch. However, I think the price is a bit high, and for me, the 19.5mm lug width is a deal breaker. After handling that watch, I'm still on the fence if I want to add it to my collection. I've been wearing my Navigator every day for a year and I still love the blacked out look and lightweight feeling. It's a fun grab and go everyday watch. Alternatively, if I want to wear a more rugged watch, I have the Marathon MSAR in my collection. I'm currently working on my review of the Marathon MSAR, and if you want to see that video, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. Back to the stainless steel Navigator, at the moment it only comes with a date version. I'd love to see a no date version in the future. Later down the road, it would also be nice to see a black anthracite steel case, similar to the anthracite GSAR, or even a titanium or black PVD titanium version. The changes and upgrades on the stainless steel Navigator are great, and I think this release is geared more towards long-time fans of Marathon. For those who didn't like the fiber shell case on the original Navigator, I think you should check out the new stainless steel version. Let's continue the conversation in the comments. What are your thoughts on the new stainless steel version, and would you add it to your collection? Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.